Hello, welcome to episode 41 of the Epic Film Challenge 2, 1001 movies you must see before you die. This is a big one for me. The Quiet Man, directed by John Ford. John motherfucking Ford. This is a director who has just been, a touchstone of cinema. Ever since he put in his body of work that went way back to the silent era and then all the way up into the 60s. He made like over 100 films, very prolific director, and had many films that people would consider all-time classics, and I hadn't seen a single one of them. I couldn't believe it. And also, my first John Wayne film, the first John Wayne film I've ever seen. Can you believe it? I told my mum and she's like, "You've never seen a John Wayne film before?" And I was like, "Nope." So this was an interesting one because it isn't a Western either, and it's an interesting kind of film. It was not what I was expecting at all. The Quiet Man from 1952 stars John Wayne as Sean Thornton, who is an American who has roots in Ireland, and the film opens with him arriving in Ireland to claim his heritage, to buy this house that was a part of his Irish family for generations. So he gets to this small kind of rural Irish village, and he wants to buy the house, and it's kind of a house that some people want, and so he immediately starts rubbing someone the wrong way, but he generally gets accepted into the village for who he is because of his lineage and because of his family, who was well respected within the village over the years. So Sean Thornton, he fits in pretty well, but there's another guy who is opposing him, who wants the house and just doesn't like Sean Thornton at all. I forget the character's name, but the actor was great. I loved his character, the guy opposing Sean Thornton. And the guy who's opposing Sean Thornton, his sister, who is Mary Kate, who's played by, what's her name, Maureen O'Hara, who actually passed away very recently, about 6 or 7 months ago. She is a very interesting character. She's like, just very striking woman, very beautiful, the red hair, and the film was shot in colour, and so her red hair really stands out to me as well. And so instantly Sean is kind of, he gravitates towards Mary Kate, but she's kind of someone who, kind of keeps everyone at arm's length and seems like a very kind of testy personality. But Sean and Mary Kate, they kind of start hitting it off. There's a romance there, but of course she is the sister of the guy who really doesn't like Sean Thornton. So it becomes less about Sean buying the house and kind of laying stake to that heritage, and more about him opposing Sean marrying his sister. Or even courting her up to a point. And it's really interesting because you see this kind of brash American coming into a completely different lifestyle in this kind of rural Ireland, where you don't just go out with a woman, you have to court them, and you have to have a chaperone, and and so he goes out on a kind of a date with Mary Kate, and they're both sat on the back of this cart with their backs to each other. They can't look at each other. They're given permission to walk for a mile, but they're not allowed to like hold hands or anything. So it's like he has to kind of adjust to this way of doing things in Ireland if he wants to pursue this love of Mary Kate in the film. Now, the film looks phenomenal. It was shot on location in Ireland, which at the time, in the 50s, was kind of unheard of. I mean, Hollywood, they'd build everything. They'd build it all on the back lot, But this, I guess John Ford was insistent, needed to be authentic and to be shot in Ireland, so they did the whole film there. And there are some scenes that were done on sets, and I feel like a couple of those let the film down just a tiny bit, and I think I read John Wayne was disappointed in the quality of those sets, because there's a scene on a beach where there's a horse race, and a lot of it is done with just a back screen projection and just a set, and it doesn't look very good. And I thought, well, I guess they probably couldn't afford to go and shoot on a real beach or something. But then they did. There's the horse race, and you see all these horses going across the beach, and you see all the huge crowd on the beach. But they couldn't, film the whole scene there. It must have been logistically difficult, I guess. But it is a bit jarring jumping from the very fake-looking set to the real location. It doesn't really match that well. But otherwise, apart from little things like that, I mean, the cinematography was wonderful. Just the shots of the scenery just gave the location such a character of its own. Just being given those kind of magical shots of just this beautiful scenery, or perhaps a character moving through the scenery or whatever, and the composition of the framing was excellent. There's an amazing scene when basically Sean and Mary-Kate first come into physical contact with each other. And it's a scene that you've probably all seen. If you haven't seen this film, you've probably seen the scene already because it is featured in E.T. The scene where Elliot kisses the girl in his class and all the frogs escape, and it's intercut between E.T. watching The Quiet Man in Elliot's house, and it's the scene where he pulls her back out of the door and the wind is blowing, and then he pulls her in for a kiss. And it's just such a beautiful shot from the way that they acted it. You know, it's just so cinematic and romantic, and, well, not even romantic. I will say there's one thing about the film that kind of irked me a little bit, was this kind of sense of forced, masculine, you know, you will kiss me kind of thing that I didn't really like. You know, after they kind of become a thing and they're accepted within the village, you know, they get into a bit of an argument. I mean, I loved how, you know, she kind of gave as good as she got, and they were kind of a really good couple because they both had strong personalities, and Maureen O'Hara was just phenomenal in this film at both showing the fierce side of her personality, the kind of almost like the defense mechanism of her character, but also she did a great job showing the sweetness to her character as well in the quieter moments that I thought just worked really well, and she was such a great character, or it was a great performance that brought that character to life. I thought John Wayne was great too. I really enjoyed him in the film. I'm interested to see more of his films in the future. But their romance was great. But after they become a thing and they kind of move in together, they're going back and forth, and she goes into the bedroom and he storms in and he grabs her and he kisses her, as if to say, there, you're gonna get kissed, and then he throws her on the bed. And it's kind of a funny moment because the bed breaks, but I'm just thinking that was a bit full on, you know, he just forced himself on her like that. But then by the end of the film, it almost seems like that's the kind of thing she wants anyway, and so it's very much a sign of the times of the 50s, I guess. And then also you have the sign of the times in Ireland, and that's sort of society with the American coming in and all that kind of stuff. So you do have to kind of view it as a snapshot of its time and not take that too, you know, not literally, but, you know, to look at that side of it where he's forcing himself on her in 2016 would seem like a big no-no, you know. And I'm not saying that it's okay because it took place back then, but it kind of works within the characters, you know, because the film's kind of, not message, but one of the themes is this kind of, is you know, Mary-Kate wanting Sean to stand up for her and to be a man kind of thing. And I don't really like that stuff, the kind of be a man, man up. I hate that shit. But it kind of works within the context of the film, I feel. But, you know, towards the end, you do get that thing where the whole film, you know, Sean is really trying to hold back from getting physical and from kind of getting into a fight over her because, you know, because of a certain reason. But by the end of it, you know, he just kind of has a fight anyway, and it didn't really pay off in that sense. You know, it was just like he was building up this storyline where, you know, what's he going to do? Is he going to go against his morals? Is he going to go against, you know, what he thinks is probably a bad move? And in the end, he just does it anyway, and all is well. And again, it's kind of a weird tone there, but by the end, it works. It works in its own little way. This film feels very much like one of those, bit like a fable, you know, a bit like just this kind of storybook almost. And the film looks like a storybook, you know. Back in the 50s, it was not that common to see colour films all the time. They filmed it in Technicolor. I believe they offered John Ford a kind of a cheaper version that wasn't true colour, and he wanted none of that. He wanted it in full colour. He wanted this film to look gorgeous. It looks gorgeous, and again, picturesque, and it just all helps to make the film more rounded, I feel. And I loved there was like the whole cast of Irish actors, very authentic. The accents are just great. It's just a lot of fun to hear all those accents just on a very superficial level. I just enjoyed the accents, you know. But Maureen O'Hara was probably the standout to me in this film. I thought she was phenomenal, and all the cast were great. And it's just a really, really strong film. Is it a film you must see before you die? I'm going to say yes. As I said, there's a few points, you know, maybe it doesn't fit in with a 2016 society in terms of the way that the romance is dealt with, but there are sweeter moments between Sean and Mary-Kate, and you know, you can kind of look past him and just look at it within the context of the film itself, I think. Also, probably my favourite bit of trivia of the film, it's about 2 hours and 10 minutes long, and at the time when John Ford delivered that cut, the studio were like, there's no way. You know, people are not going to sit through a film longer than 2 hours. You need to get it down to 120 minutes. So what John Ford did was he just cut off the last 10 minutes of the film and basically said, okay, I've taken out 10 minutes. Here's the film. So he screened it for the studio, and basically he'd just taken off the last 10 minutes. So by the time it got to the climactic fight at the end, it just stopped. And he was like, now you're going to tell me that people aren't going to want to watch for another 10 minutes. And so he got his way, and I think that's a really great story. And yeah, it didn't feel too long to that effect either, but yeah, definitely not what I was expecting, you know, and it was very funny too. There's a lot of great humour in it that I wasn't expecting so much. And yeah, that's about it really. I really loved it, and I cannot wait to see more John Ford films. There's plenty more in the books, there's plenty more for me to watch in this series, and I'm probably going to watch them pretty soon because I'm dying to see more from this director who, you know, influenced the great Akira Kurosawa, you know, who is an institution of his own in cinema. So yeah, I'm dying to see more John Ford films, and this I think was a good start. Hopefully not, you know, kind of starting at the top and then working my way down, but yeah, I hope that I see more films of this quality that look this great and have, you know, great characters and great performances, and yeah, that's about it. So let me know what you thought about the film if you've seen it, and thank you for watching.